host, Hersh Perlis. My co-host, Hersh Perlis, and I are delighted to welcome you. We have a fantastic lineup of speakers, and we're going to be hearing from them in just a couple of minutes. I just wanted to, in anticipation of what's to come, give you 2 minutes on the Legal Innovation Zone. Hersh and I co-founded this about 5.5 years ago as the first incubator anywhere dedicated to legal technology. Our goal has really been threefold from the beginning with one vision, and that vision is building better legal solutions for consumers and supporting those who are determined to do the same. So we do three things at the Legal Innovation Zone. We support startups from the idea through to international sales. At any one point in time, we've had about 15 startups, support them through various means, mentors, advisors, when we're allowed to be all together, incubation in one space. Look forward to that. We support organizations, public, private, Osler's law firm, Canadian Bureau of International Education, the Ontario government, and others in advancing their innovation agenda through design thinking, various workshops, support of their individual initiatives. And we have this notion that you can build a better legal system, one that is actually built for consumers in the 21st century. And we have a number of initiatives underway that we pursued over the years, including a family law initiative that's underway at the moment. That's us. We are delighted today to welcome our speakers, but before we do that, we have a special announcement. We are delighted to announce that we are appointing a special advisor to the Legal Innovation Zone, and our special advisor is Andrew Arruda. Andrew Arruda, former CEO and co-founder of Ross Intelligence, current founder of a stealth mode startup, which he may or may not speak more about. Andrew has a long history in the innovation and law space, an expert on artificial intelligence and its use and potential use for law and other areas, is a speaker throughout the world. And I think Andrew is going to join us.
I'm here.
Hey, Andrew. You're mobile.
I am. I'm mobile. I'm in my mobile. I call this my mobile office. I'm first and foremost just want to say just how excited and happy I am to be announcing that I'll be joining the team. It's been an absolute dream watching the Legal Innovation Zone kind of grow and continue to prosper and kind of spread across the world. Especially as I've traveled to places like Singapore and other kind of far reaches and great markets. The Legal Innovation Zone is something that comes up, and to be part of that and to help shape some strategy is going to be really exciting for me.
Well, we're looking forward to working even more closely with you, Andrew, in the future than we have in the past. I remember when we were about to launch, you stood in the space as you were leaving for the United States to build your company. Hersh and I were standing there with you and thinking about what might happen in the future. And you've been on a wild ride over the past 5.5 years, have accomplished so much around the world. We are absolutely delighted. You're going to be able to lend even more of your time and, of course, always your expertise to our entrepreneurs, to the initiatives that we have going here, but as importantly, to the people who need legal help, which you have always been dedicated to. Consumers first, and build what people need in the way they need it. Thank you so much for
absolutely
the Innovation Zone. Yeah.
Well, I just want to add, I think that last bit there about really focusing in on the consumers in most areas and in most kind of technology circles, there's this absolute obsession with the users of your system. And I think we oftentimes in different organizations within the legal world forget that the entire system is really built to deliver legal services to those who need it. And it's not necessarily built for those who are doing the delivery aspect. And so the focus of the Legal Innovation Zone on consumers is something I'm really excited about. And I tweeted this morning, it was a bit of an American twinge, but on LinkedIn, I included the word postal, but I think one of the things that drives me most in my life is the idea that one day everyone will be able to have access to the same legal services independent of their postal code. And not only that, I think the idea that your postal code won't determine your education status, your socioeconomic status, the outcomes of your legal cases, as well as your health outcome, is something that propels and drives me forward. And in many ways, I see this as a homecoming to be joining in a more formal way. And I can't wait to be, kind of roll up the sleeves and get to work with all the exciting projects on the horizon. So a big thank you. And I noticed so many wonderful friends on out there as additional kind of participants. So looking forward to catching up with all of you as well.
Welcome home, Andrew. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Hersh and introduce our special guests, great speakers. Thanks,
Great,
Andrew.
thanks, Chris, and thanks, Andrew. We are very honored and excited to have everyone here today for our first demo lunch. We're hoping to make this a monthly thing where we will bring legal tech startups, both from Canada and around the world, to showcase the great work that they're doing to everyone here, and hopefully many more moving forward. The way it's going to work is I will very briefly introduce the startups. They will have about 7 to 10 minutes to speak. If there's time permitting, we'll have 1 or 2 questions after each of them speak. If you have a question, shoot it off to me, and I will ask the questions to the speakers. We have found that that's the most efficient way to do it. After each of the 3 teams speak for their 7 to 10 minutes, we will go into breakout rooms. Each team will have a breakout room. And so if you put a number in front of your name, and I'll throw this into the chat, but if you put a number in front of your name, that will tell us which breakout room you want to go to. The first room will be Alexsei, the second room will be Diligen, and the third room will be Fliplet. So if you just go to your picture on the screen to the 3 dots and write change name and just put a 1, 2, or 3 in front, we'll make sure that you get into the right room, and you can do that at any time between now and when the 3 speakers change. So we are very excited to have you all, and no one is here to listen to me. So I will introduce the first company, which is Alexsei, which is a fantastic, currently a Legal Innovation Zone company. Alexsei does legal memos on demand. Using Alexsei's advanced artificial intelligence platform, they deliver affordable and high quality answers to legal questions in memo format. Co-founded by Mark, Sam, and JB, all 3 awesome members of the Liz. We are really excited to have them here, and Mark is here to present. Mark, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Hersh. Thanks for having me, everyone. I'm just going to share my screen now. Perfect. Okay, great. So as Hersh mentioned, Alexsei is an AI platform that provides answers to routine, complex legal questions in a memo format. And it's the memo format that's key. So pretty much all legal research software companies before Alexsei operated on the premise of a search. You have a search bar, and they return a list of cases, linking to cases. They might even identify sections in cases that most closely relate to the input, to the query. But at the end of the day, even if these tools are perfect at surfacing the top 10 cases that need to be read, even the sections from those cases, there's always a ton of work left for the user to really get an answer to their legal question. And this is true because the nature of the law, the nature of source law. To answer a question, it requires synthesizing and summarizing content across multiple documents. A single decision will never sufficiently answer a question. And so the way to deliver that, the way to deliver a summary and a synthesis is the generation of a new document. And so we designed the Alexsei memo to do exactly that, to answer any legal question in a memo format. And so the way it works is when you log into your Alexsei account, you can see a few different form fields here. And the key difference is that there's a question field and a facts field. But the reason why these are separated is because of one very important concept, and that Alexsei is not search. You're not searching for content. You have a question, and Alexsei delivers you an answer. And so traditional search tools, keyword search, even perfect example, you're looking for the input. So you have an input content, you're looking for where in a document that input exists. With Alexsei, you have a question, and our deep learning models have learned a mapping from question content to answer content. And so when you input the question, the system learns, okay, this is the question, but now this is what the answer needs to be. So it's very different from search. The facts, on the other hand, are a search. We're looking for cases with facts as similar as possible to the facts that have been inputted. And it's this separation of the two fields, question and facts, that allows us to surface the right legal principles from the right cases and summarize and synthesize this content into a complete answer. So just as an example here, very straightforward example, but what is the... very typical kind of question that we might get and answer on a very regular basis. And the question here is a formal legal issue statement. It's a formal legal question. It's a question about the legal principles. What does the content of the law, what does the law say to answer that question? Whereas the facts might be something like customer spilled okay, and then these might be the facts. And so now the memo will answer this legal question using the legal principles about occupiers' liability, standard of care. But these principles will be pulled from cases with facts as similar as possible to the facts submitted by the user. You can also select the jurisdiction. So if you're in Canada, at least we just recently launched in California. But in Canada, it would be one of the options would be a province. It just defaults to the home account. And this doesn't exclude content from other provinces. It just informs the system that there's an authoritative score for each decision. So an Ontario Court of Appeal decision would be more authoritative than an Alberta Court of Appeal decision if the jurisdiction was Ontario, for example. Yeah, as I said, it doesn't mean it would exclude content from other jurisdictions. And then what's of high importance for all of our customers, all of the law firm customers, is adding a folder. And this allows them in their report and billing systems to be able to track every single question that gets submitted to Alexsei can be associated with a client. So at the very least, it's a flow through cost. But in many cases, firms are grossing up the fee from their clients, and there's a bit of margin that the firm can take when they pass the cost on to their clients. And then regarding, you can add a regarding line here. This is just for, you can add additional customization in how it shows up in the reports. The regarding line shows up in the reports and in the header of the memo. You can also tag any other users in your firm. So many of the larger firms have, even some of the smaller firms have a gatekeeper model where they might have 1 or 2 or 5 users submitting questions on behalf of a much larger user base. And this allows them to tag any of those other users. They might be submitting a question for Aaron, for example, and then when the memo gets published, it gets returned, Aaron would get an email with the memo attached. So then if I hit submit here, it just gives me a confirmation page. And then when I hit confirm, it just redirects me to a complete page with a time, an estimated time when the memo will be returned. So it's not instantaneous for a couple of reasons. One, the AI system takes actually, previously it was about 20 minutes. Now it's within 10 minutes to run and just to get the first draft together. And then we always have a human lawyer add content, edit content, remove as needed to make sure that the memo is in perfect status for us to send back to our customer. So the amount of human involvement is going down dramatically across all different types of questions. And this is just a reflection of how fast the AI is learning. We get a lot of repeat questions that overlap, and the system is learning from all of this information. So I won't hit confirm here. Instead, I'll just jump over to a completed memo. So this is what the database of memos look like. It's all the cases. You can scroll through, you can find them, you can search them. But just to click on one example here, this is what the memos look like. So there's the header, setting out basic information, the question submitted by the user, and the conclusion, which is typically 4 to 10 paragraphs. And it always refers to the cases that were relied on if this is a legal principle it sets out. So the structure of an Alexsei memo behind the scenes, there's a lot more structure to it. It looks just like a natural language memo, but there's actually a lot more structure to it. So we call these principal conclusion blocks. And you can see all this on our website. It goes through the structure of a memo, and it refers to a case in parentheses here. And then we also have what we call precedent conclusion blocks, where it refers to a case and the facts specifically, and maybe the legal principles that emerged from that case. So it's a specific example of an application of the legal principles set out in the memo. And then the background law goes through all the relevant authorities that were relied on in the conclusion. And then at the very end, the list of all the authorities that you can click on and go and review. And of course, you can download the PDF and the Word document again at this point. So what's key to understand is that this is not a piece of advocacy work. We are aiming as best as possible to set out what's objectively true in the law. Now, the advocates, the lawyers, all of our clients, their obligation is to try and achieve the goals of their client. They're, of course, required by law to have some, they can't lie about what the law says, but their obligation really is to their client. Whereas an AI, on the other hand, Alexsei, our obligation is just the truth. It's not a piece of advocacy work. We're just setting out what the law says as best as possible. Okay, so that's everything with the demo. The rest of the features here are just admin, managing users, managing reports, billing, all of that stuff done entirely through the application. But I'll stop now and see if there are any questions.
So there are a few questions, and we have about a minute left. So just, I guess, quick fire questions. Is this tied to any particular jurisdiction?
So it's in anywhere in Canada. If you're asking a question about Canadian content, we'll answer it. Also, if you're based in California, we'll answer it if you're in California.
Great. And what sources is this tool searching?
Yeah, so we've put together our own collection of case law, combination of, we've got agreements with various courts to get access from them, other sources that we've used to put the case law together. And ongoing basis, we're adding to that to make sure that it's as comprehensive as possible. Fortunately, with this product, unlike a database search tool, we don't need the entire corpus of case law. We don't need all those redundant cases. There's many cases with similar facts, similar legal principles. We just need the most authoritative ones that help guide the state of the law.
Okay, well, that is all the time we have right now. There were a lot more questions. So if you're interested in speaking to Mark after the next two presentations, please put a 1 in front of your name and we will throw you into that room. Thanks a lot for that, Mark.
Thanks, Hersh.
So we are going to be moving on to Diligen. Diligen is, I will humbly say, a great Liz alumni company. So Diligen gives you instant insight into your contracts using machine learning powered analysis. They help identify key provisions, generate contract summaries, and help your team manage review. It was co-founded by Laura and Conrad, again, two fantastic members of the Liz while they were in the Liz. And today we have Diligen's legal analyst, James, to present. The floor is all yours, James.
All right, thanks, Hersh. Let me just share my screen. Should do it. Oh, I'm having, give me 1 second. I'll be right back. I have to
Joys of Zoom these days. So we'll give, I assume he will be back very shortly. Oh, there you are. James, you should be good now. I just made you co-host.
Okay, great. Sorry about that. Let me jump right in there. Okay, so as Hersh mentioned, Liz is a machine learning product where we use machine learning to identify provisions in contracts and automatically extract those provisions into contract summaries, whether that's a due diligence report or a lease abstract or any other sort of large-scale contract analysis. So Diligen is used by law firms, legal service providers, banks, governments around the world. And there are typical use cases, like I mentioned, due diligence and lease, but also things like LIBOR review, CLM migration, and it's really quite flexible. So today I'll be going over an M&A due diligence use case. When you log in, as you see here, you can see your projects and a quick status of each of the projects on a card. And clicking into your project, you get this dashboard where you can see all of your projects that you're working on, all of the documents that you have within your project, and a list of provisions you may want as a sort of dashboard at the top here. You can also edit that dashboard at the top to any of the provisions. Like I said, there are hundreds of built-in provisions. Here's a quick scroll through as an example of all the provisions just focused on real estate. And so all of these are available out of the box when you start using Diligen. So to get into a document, you can either click on the document name, or when there's a check mark in one of the columns here, that's indicating that the machine learning has found this provision in that document. And so by clicking on that check mark, it will take you directly to that spot in the document and highlighted here on the review pane on the right. You can also jump to any other sections in your document based on the provisions here on the right. You can come in to any of these document or provision sections and add whatever additional comments you might want. You can also delete anything, clean them up in any way that might be relevant. And you can also add custom provisions. So for example, here we just have a blank notes field if you wanted to add any additional comments on this document. And up here we have a multiple choice field. So the ability to create these multiple choice fields enables you to have much more structured data in your responses and in your review. And in this way, you can really drill down on things more quickly than if you're just using text. And you can set it up in your workflow as you have it here. So for example, your change of control extracted text would be right here. And then you'd have the ability to answer your question right here. Obviously, this one is no. And I'll show in a couple minutes how we can use some other features in Diligen to automatically fill out these multiple choice fields. So at any point in your review, or presumably once you're complete, you can generate a report of everything that's been done within your project. So similar to the dashboard, you can select which provisions you're working with. Here I'm going to extract an Excel document. It's quite quick, and you can use this to generate your executive summary or to submit things to a senior partner or whoever else you're working with. You can see all the provisions listed at the top here, and each row is one of the documents. And this is much faster, obviously, than just copying and pasting to get to this page. So, like I said, there are hundreds of provisions within Diligen, and you can extract them all automatically into your report. But we also have the ability to train any custom provisions you might be working with. So as you can see here are just some demo provisions that we've been working on. And one of the really nice things about Diligen is that it'll actually suggest examples to you as you go through your review. And it'll also, as it improves the algorithm, it'll predict what those are. So this one, that matches a recital. This is not a recital. You can see it predicted it correctly. Again, I predicted it correctly, and we're back to recital. So this is all live, and this is all how you would be training your own custom models in addition to all the models that we already have, if you wanted to do that. The next thing I'll show is how to use our new rules feature. And so this is what I was alluding to when I said you could fill something in automatically. The rules system extends the customizability of our system by allowing us to set actions that occur automatically when certain conditions are met. And in fact, some of the rules are actually applying a second layer of machine learning to extract things such as an entity name or a specific number out of a clause. So here, for example, I'm searching this change of control clause specifically for the word pay or any other expression of pay. And it will write to that multiple choice field. It'll select the payment option that I had on that. You can also use these rules to create aspects of your workflow. So for example, say those change of control provisions with pay and those with Canada as the governing law had something specific we wanted to look at, I could have those be automatically assigned to a given reviewer and marked as a red flag. So I will just give a quick demo of how that would work. I'm just going to add a quick tag here to run the rules. And you'll see these three with change of control, it picked up payment. This one also has Canada, so it gave it a red flag and assigned it to myself, who's the reviewer on this. And if I were working on this, I could easily just come in, go jump to my assigned documents and begin the review specifically on those. So all of these rules and these custom provisions, you can build out for yourself. We can also help you build them. And when you've built them for one project, you have the ability to download that project template and then use it again and again on different projects to improve that efficiency. We're also developing some out-of-the-box project templates, one, for example, for M&A. And so those will also be available to anyone who's using Diligen. So thanks for your time. And that's a high-level view of Diligen.
Great, thanks for that. Just a reminder, if anyone has questions, please shoot them off my way. The first question we have is from Sukesh, and it is, how does this differ from Kira?
So obviously they're both using machine learning to extract contract provisions. Some features are similar, but we definitely have some additional features, specifically rules and templates. Also our custom training provisions are, I would say, a bit more advanced in that we're actually suggesting options for you as you go. I know one of the challenges without having that, like before we had built this at Diligen, was finding all those documents with the examples. And there's a lot of legwork up front, and this way it's a lot more smooth of a transition. So I'd say those are the two big things, is smoother custom models and a lot more capability to really narrow down on things with and automate things through rules.
Does your product work in different languages?
It does. Not every single language, but we have quite a few. I know French, Spanish, German. There's a beta version of Japanese, and definitely come talk to us if you have a particular language. We can look at that.
Great. Okay. Oh, one more. Hey. Okay, that's just for me. Okay, so I just want to thank you for the presentation. That was fantastic. And again, if anyone wants to speak with James afterwards, please make sure that you're putting a number in front of your name, and we will throw you into that room. Just another reminder, Alexsei put a 1, Diligen put a 2, and now we are about to hear from Dave for Fliplet number 3. So thanks, James. Fliplet. So Fliplet is headquartered in the UK. Fliplet empowers law firms to operate multiple apps without a large development team. They help you avoid development delays and spiraling maintenance costs that kill great ideas. Dave is an account executive at Fliplet, and he also generously donated his time when I taught a legal tech and innovation course at Ryerson this past January. So Dave, the floor is all yours.
Thank you very much, Hersh, for that introduction. Let me just share my screen here, make sure I share the right one. So hopefully you can all see that now. I'll see some nod from Hersh, good stuff. So firstly, I wanted to thank Hersh and Chris and the Legal Innovation Zone for inviting us along to do this presentation today. Unlike the other two presentations, I'm not going to take you through a demo because there's so many different use cases for Fliplet, as Hersh knows. But ultimately, as he highlighted, we're a UK-based legal tech business focused on helping legal firms to innovate through mobile apps, web apps, and ultimately solutions to help them to become more of a modern practice or more of a modern legal team if it's in-house. Whilst we are in the UK, majority of our clients, probably 2/3 of them are in North America, and we're seeing certainly more and more interest across Canada as well, which is great to see. So when things open up, we can't wait to get over there as well. And yeah, as you can sort of see here are some of the example clients that you can recognize below here, just to give you a bit of a heads up of the types of business that we're working with, ranging from large to smaller practices, and so on. So in terms of Fliplet and our use cases, what we've created really as a business is we are a prefab app building platform. So, we aren't an app building house, so we don't go there and design and create, completely bespoke apps. Certainly, if there's something that's not in the box or coming out of the box, we can work with you to understand your needs and requirements and build something that is more fitting to a particular requirement. But we have built a number of templated apps that ultimately all you need to do is add your content, your color scheme in, and move things around and pull other screens from other apps that we have into it. And we will always work with you on designing that. But here are a few examples of different types of clients, apps that other clients have done and that we've already got, I say, out of the box functionality on, which things like reporting. Directories, it might seem very simple, but they can work in many different ways. That could be an internal directory for a particular business where they're using it from an internal communications perspective. That could be a specific legal area app. So let's say it was, I don't know, an employment and pensions guide. You may have a directory that just links the employment and pensions team. So as a prospective client, I can quickly get in touch and realize who I could work with. Events, we're seeing more and more businesses looking for events. We're actually in the process of launching a virtual events app as well. So watch this space and so on. So you've got a few other sort of ideas there rather than me listing one by one of what we've got. So coming back to Fliplet, and I guess the pre-Fliplet era, and why I guess businesses are transitioning away from the historic ways of mobile apps, shall we say, or other systems they've got. So you can still see there, the current solution that a business may have is potentially out of date or not fit for purpose for whatever reason, whether it's expensive to maintain. The user experience may not be what people are used to these days, where people want things at their fingertips, because the first thing we do in the morning is sadly look at our phones, and the last thing we do in the day is pretty similar. We look at our phones and put them down. So things have moved on from when these systems were originally built. Again, from an app building perspective, businesses have relied on using specialized agencies who, they're usually expensive. Projects often go beyond the projected timelines. And again, there is a high risk associated with that. Should anything go wrong or should someone leave, often the knowledge goes with it, which comes back to the last point of businesses have also hired expensive resources internally to help them design and build these apps. And the whole point behind Fliplet is, if I lets me click on, there we go, is to allow you to build custom apps regardless of who you are within the business. You don't need to be an IT guru. We have we are a low code, no code platform. We're click and drag. We're, if you have coders, if you have people that want to learn, we do have resources there. We have people in-house to teach you, some of the more complex stuff. But ultimately, we are a low code tool, and we're there to help clients with, creating custom solutions that have a big impact either internally or externally to their business. And as you can sort of see here, those prefab components can include simple things within the apps, actual components like directories, pictures, images, videos, etc., or more of the detailed technical infrastructure behind the scenes that, again, the more technical people are interested in rather than the users like yourselves. And then again, where we sit versus other sort of similar tools. So you have very much your complex, more powerful, more specialized tools that I'm sure you've all heard of. Often they require technical experts, more heavy resource on your side to run these type of solutions, or you have to upskill people. Other tools are more simple, where they are a click and drag, and that's all you can do. There's not a lot of customization you can do. We sort of sit in between the two of those, where ultimately the chances are we've probably built 90% of what you're looking for. You don't need to hire developers to do the rest. We can work with you on the rest should we need to do so. And again, we are completely open source as well. And the beauty of how we work, you have the ability to very quickly spin up apps duplicate apps, events, things like that, they come and go very quickly. If you've got events coming up every week, every month, every year, whatever it is, you can quickly spin up an app, create it, push it out, and do the same thing, duplicate what you've already got, rather than having to go back to basics and starting from the ground up. So again, from a learning perspective, you could test this on internal users, external users, and ultimately gaining that feedback is really important, so that when the final app is created, you've got something to go off that's going to stand out from the crowd and just sort of separate you from the competitors within your space. And then in terms of, again, coming back to the types of solutions that other firms are looking at. So we have things like your legal reference guides. So often, an M&A type app, if people have an M&A division, they want to share more information about that, have it in an app. You may decide, actually, we need something from a return to office perspective. So Fliplet has recently launched a return to office solution, which we have about 20 clients using during this pandemic to help them manage space, manage users, and ensure that they're ticking the boxes from a compliance perspective, and ensuring that their staff are happy going back into the office, and things are in a safe and secure way. And again, we have, obviously, as you can see here, internal tools such as internal comms, onboarding. We're seeing more and more firms looking at this as an option for trainees. So when you first come into the firm, you have an app that allows you to communicate with other similar trainees at a similar level in their learning, so that they don't feel disparate, they don't feel separate. They're able to communicate through this app, but also learn about the fundamentals of the firm and ensure they're following the course criteria, etc. So that's just, again, a bit of a flavor for Fliplet. Obviously, there's a lot of different sort of moving parts within this, and a lot of firms doing different things with it. But I thought for today that would give you a bit of an overview of the types of things that our clients are doing. So yeah, that's Fliplet.
That's great. Thanks, Dave. The first question, I think you sort of touched on it, but I'm going to ask anyways, is some people here have done work with Neota Logic, drag and drop app building platform. What are the differences with Fliplet?
Yeah, so we hear about Neota a fair bit. I think where we start to differ is it's just the usability from an individual perspective. It's very simplistic to use. There's a multitude of ways in which you can do it. Neota is obviously very much decision tree led, and they're not necessarily as easy to implement from an app perspective, whereas we sort of are bringing it into both mobile as well as web apps. So you can push it and deploy it however you like. So we sort of have that separation in terms of, I guess, more the ease of use and the support model.
Great. Another question is there any back-end development in Fliplet? Say we have a machine learning model that needs to go online. Can it do that? And are the apps scalable?
Yeah, I guess it would be a case of understanding the exact use case that maybe you're thinking about. So we do have an open API, so you can read and write into Fliplet. So should there be information you want to pull in from a separate system that you're using, you can absolutely do that. Yeah.
Great. Okay, so that is it. Thank you very much, Dave.
Perfect.
Spotlight, there we go. Okay, so I just really want to thank everyone for joining us here today. The point was to give you a quick opportunity to see 3 amazing legal tech startups. Hopefully you enjoyed yourself. As we mentioned, we're going to send people into breakout rooms. If you want to join one of the teams, please put a number in front of your name. Again, 1 for Alexsei, 2 for Diligen, and 3 for Fliplet. And the speakers will hang out for probably about 15-20 minutes and answer more questions as you see fit. So thank you very much for joining us today. And if you want to go into one room and then out to another room, just come back here and we'll toss you out there. That is it. Thanks so much for joining.